Right. Hi, everyone. Yeah, just this is a little opportunity to check in with you guys, see how it's going with the dyads. I jumped into the rooms. It seemed like everybody was working pretty well. There were a few technical glitches at the beginning, and it seemed like they got smoothed out, so that's good. Um, so yeah, I'd love to maybe if there's any questions that are coming up, first of all, or anything in your practice and anything that needs clarification, a technique, um, yeah, now is the time to do it. So if there's anything coming up, or while I'm talking as well, if anything's coming up, feel free to just unmute. You can just unmute or put your hand up or whatever works there. Yeah, so anything coming up at all in your practice or questions?
I'll start.
Sure.
Uh, this is my first time
Hmm.
doing anything, and I was very thankful to Geeta for, I guess maybe she's done it before, but she was sort of providing me with vocabulary to use.
Mm. Okay.
Otherwise, I'm kind of lost.
Mm.
But I still felt like I was intellectually reaching,
Hmm.
right? Uh, and I mean, I could certainly. The interesting thing was seeing that,
Mm.
but I still felt like I was very much intellectually reaching. And I don't want to say faking it because that's not accurate.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I entered into the spirit of the thing,
Hmm.
but I just felt like I was saying more or less the same thing over and over
Hmm.
with slight differences,
Yeah.
but not a whole lot. And maybe the point is just to keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that until the rational mind just gets tired of it and falls. I don't know, but that's kind of where I was at about the whole thing.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, that's what you're reporting is very common. So that's for a lot of people. It really it always starts out with the mind. It always starts out like the rational mind is in play at the beginning. So it's good that you're feeling that already. Usually sometimes it takes people a little while to, they get come to a point where that they realize that it's the same answers, or that, there's
Hmm.
this almost like a roboticness to the, what's happening there. And in the self-inquiry world, like Ramana Maharshi always said, at the beginning, when you inquire into the true self, at first what you see is always the false self. So it's if we didn't have the false self coming up, we'd be already awakened beings. So that the whole exercise is to see that, to see what's coming up. And how does that feel? Like we can report on that as well. When you notice it's the mind, answering, or looking for conceptual answers, or the mind's trying to do something. How does that feel in the body? Does it feel is there does it feel authentic? Does it feel like there
Hmm.
could be a greater sense of ease that could come? Maybe we start to feel a contraction in the energy. Every time the mind generates a thought, maybe there's something, a little bit of movement in the body. Maybe the breath changes. So we start to tune into the whole pattern of what's happening in the mind body. And you actually hit on something like the mind eventually, if we do this long enough, stuff starts to come up. So it might be a sense of frustration. It might be, maybe the mind will just give up, and then something deeper might come up. And when those deeper things start to come up, it could be anything. It could be memories from childhood. It could be for we never know what to expect. You can't, it's good to just have a not knowing mind and
Mm,
then, and just keep doing it. And the amazing thing about this practice is, it's just by continuously being present with a partner, it's like you're that continuous presence and continuous kind of investigating into what's coming up. Things start to change.
mm.
What's in the unconscious starts to come to the surface. So it really is a process. So at the beginning, the mind is a little bit confused and doesn't really make sense what we're doing, but eventually that mind will start to drop off, and those deeper levels will start to come to the surface. So it's just like in meditation, if you're in meditation for days, things start to happen. There's a sort of dissolving of certain mind processes that happen over time. And that's really the essence of this technique.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was a good question. Um, yeah, anybody else have anything coming up? Yeah, Gita, get you to unmute there. There you go. Hello.
Um, so my question is, it seems like the phenomena that happens is endless. Like there's things come up, and bubble up to the surface, and then more things come up, and then more and more things, and then there's this, I don't know, primal like fear or existential fear, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and it just feels like there is no end to it.
Mhm.
So my question is, when the fear becomes really overwhelming, or I mean, I know it's easy to say like we see it and yeah, we see it, but then do you have any suggestions or like how do you deal with this very deep, deep kind of fear that's sometimes difficult to
Mhm.
the body to handle, let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah, that's a great question. And that fear can come up in the meditation practice as well. And this whole sadhana practice, it's creating a space for all of these different things that are in the unconscious to come up. So we want to do that in a sort of balanced way. We want to find the middle way with that. So we so there, I think in the intro talk, I talked a little bit about overwhelm and what happens if we're overwhelmed by sensations. And so there's a point where it isn't productive anymore. So we want to open that door, feel everything that we can feel, and just allow those feelings. And in that space where the fear is coming up, it's the most productive place to inquire. Like who does that fear belong to? Is that my fear? Is that the conditioned self that's just going through this process? So we can really inquire, but we want to do it in a way that is not going to overwhelm the nervous system as well. So if that fear becomes too much, and you can kind of tell when it's too much when if there's like the it feels like the wiring is getting overwhelmed, like almost like the nervous system's getting fried, or there can be nausea, sweating, that type of thing. That's a indication that there is maybe a little bit, you know, happening too quickly. So if that is happening, that's the time to just kind of step back a little bit, just relax, let the nervous system readjust. As these energies are freed, the body goes through many different recalibrations, and there's going to be um, a lot coming up. So yeah, so we just want to find the middle way with that. Um, yeah. So was that happening in your last dyad for you?
No, I think the question was because of the meditation, like when I started, but when the diet started, the fear was there was more presence and there wasn't any fear.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
just a question that came up. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you can if that's happening already, it's day one in the retreat. So grounding practices are really important, so that we want to face all of these things and allow them to come up. But there, when sometimes, it doesn't really matter if we're just being present. We're just sort of aware of presence. We're not feeding the conditioned mind. It doesn't really matter what we're doing. So we could be on the cushion. You could go for a walk. In bare feet, that type of thing. Just lying down, just allowing the body to just really relax and process the energies that are coming. So my feeling is just your intuition will guide you with that. You'll know when it's time to just sort of nurture the body, just relax, um, and then there's times to um, yeah, just really feel everything, allow everything. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you.
Mm. Okay, Maya. Yeah. Hi, Maya.
Hi, Dan.
Hi there.
Uh, so I've been doing these diets for a while now, and I must say I really love them. Uh, but I'm getting this feeling that although it's really well designed, with these self-inquiry meditations and the teachings that you're giving us during the retreat, it's still, the diets, I think it's not enough because it's only 3 diets. And after doing 2 diets together, then I start feeling that the mind already gets tired, but then there's no more diets, and it's like mind manages to recover itself.
Mm.
So I was thinking if there was an opportunity to do more intensive diets, maybe it would be.
We are going to like eventually my vision for all of this is to have that going all the time. So right now, with the app, you can do dyads. Like if there's two people who want to go all night, they can go all night. So it's open, it's active all the time, and that's awesome that you want to go deeper with it. But I would also say, um, so you described how, when you're doing the dyads, the mind is kind of dropping off, and you're kind of describing that, and then you said the mind kind of comes back then after that. So we can actually continue to do exactly what we're doing in the dyads all through the retreat, all the time. So even when you're not in a dyad, you can intend to directly experience your true nature that's here now all the time. So that awareness that is just here, what we want to do is, eventually get to a point where um, we can sort of abide as that awareness, whether the mind is active or not active. So these dyads are amazing for dropping off the mind, and it's in that stillness that the kensho or awakening is more likely to happen. But really, what we want, because the mind will always come back, the mind will always get active, and so we want to be able to go back into life and whenever the mind is active and still recognize the awareness that is ever present. So, so do you in this moment right here, do you recognize that awareness that is here right now? That beingness?
Yes, but it's somehow doomed. It's not very clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that dimming, there's always a but that creeps in. So, so the yes, awareness is always here, and if we can, that dimming, um, it is the mind wanting something to be other than what is here. So whatever state, I suspect you've had clearings, in the dyads, like where it probably felt good, right? Like, have you had experiences like that where the mind has gone quiet and it feels very peaceful, a sense of ease in the body, and mhm. Yeah.
Especially after second, after third, the switching,
Mhm.
it mind starts to calm.
Yeah. So the tricky thing with that is, like those states are beautiful. They feel really good. And the challenge is that, like, the mind starts having a preference for those beautiful states, where there's no mind. So this is the paradox. The mind is looking for a state with no mind, you know. So the more it looks, the more it's not going to be there, right? So when we see how crazy that is, we see the paradox. Um, really, if we notice that the mind is always, it always has a preference for something other than what is here and now. So that initial recognition, you said awareness is here, but, you know, so it's the but we want to drop that off, just allow, um, and recognize when we make that conscious, because there is a subtle preference. There's always a subtle preference for something, a state, or, a feeling, a sensation, something like that. We want that clearing, but the one that wants it is always that little self, that, so if we can just stay with that initial recognition, just surrendering and allowing everything to be as it is, um, that's when the clearing happens. So it's catching it right from the beginning. There's nowhere to go with this. It's right here, right now. Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to share anything or say anything? Okay, so I'm just going to run through a few little pointers, and then, yeah, if there's nothing else coming up, I'll just let you go back into the dyads. So yeah, so there's a few things I just like to reinforce all the time, because they're things, even if we've done dyads for a little while, things that can kind of creep into the practice. So these are really important things for this container. Um, so one thing is, if you can, when you do the inquiry, you kind of go inward sometimes, or, it doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong way to do the inquiry. So some people will kind of close their eyes, go inward. The truth is, who you are, your true self is here, whether the eyes are open or closed. It doesn't matter. So, but for some people, it might feel just more natural to close the eyes. But then, after you've done that inquiry, after you've intended to directly experience who you are, then whatever comes up in the mind and body as a result of doing that inquiry, we share that. And when you share it, it's important to reconnect with your partner. So you want to really make eye contact with your partner then. So we don't want to be sitting there with our eyes closed and reporting with the eyes closed. We want to really convey to the partner, and part of that conveying is really through the eyes. So making, whenever you're speaking, just making eye contact with the partner. So that's one thing. Another thing is we don't want to refer to anything that our partner has said. And, and sometimes this is really hard, especially sometimes there's beautiful connections that start to happen. And it's easy to start to comment on something, or if you're resonating with something your partner said. But then, bit by bit, things start to turn into a conversation, and the container starts to get broken. So we don't want to uh, sometimes there can be a positive sort of evaluation when we start sharing about something that our partner has said. It's like if we're really resonating with it, it's like we're hearing our own story sometimes through the other person. It's beautiful, but if we comment on it, there's a subtle evaluation happening there. It can be positive or on the flip side, it could be negative. Usually people, when they fall into that kind of commenting, it's usually positive. But so we just don't want to refer to anything that our partner said. We don't want to refer to the partner as you in any way. We don't want to comment on their appearance, on their anything. So just imagine it's like you have a mirror in front of you. Um, and yeah, that's it. So the witness is literally like a mirror, and and it doesn't mean that as the witness, it doesn't mean you have to be like a statue and be inhuman and not. We do our best to just be a neutral witness, but sometimes there is a sort of synchronization that happens between people. So there may be emotions that come in the witness. Sometimes if someone is going through something, there can be a kind of empathic connection that happens. So we don't want to, shut that down. We just allow anything that's happening to happen. But the main thing is that we're just not providing feedback for the one doing the inquiry. So we're not nodding, we're not evaluating in any way. So that's the reason for this rule, is just there's no evaluation, and that just allows the inquirer to be completely free. Anything that's coming up there's no judgment. Um, and it's such a unique situation to be not evaluated. For most people, there's very rare times in our lives where we've been in a situation where we can truly just express and not be evaluated. And yeah, the other thing, the technique when we're doing the inquiry, it's important that we do both parts of the technique. So there's the inquiry part of it has two stages. So there's the first part, intend to directly experience who you are. So that stage, we don't want to miss that. So sometimes, someone will deliver the imperative and already the mind is thinking, or it's coming up with an answer. The words just come right away. So if that's happening, if words are just coming right after the imperative, you may be missing that stage of intending to directly experience who you are. So when you receive the imperative, tell me who you are, really take time to intend to just experience your true nature, intend to directly experience that I amness or pure awareness, however you want to say it, just the beingness that is here in this moment directly. And so directly means not via the mind. So in that moment, there's nothing for the mind to do. You can just allow the mind to have, drop off, just relax the mind completely. Sometimes the mind gets frustrated. It's like, how do I intend to directly experience? But the mind can't do it. The mind will always fail in this endeavor. So this, it's like a Zen koan, the tell me who you are, the mind will always fail. So if we really get that at the beginning, it takes a lot of the burden off of the mind. The mind can truly just relax in this process, ease into this process, and not be worrying about, am I doing it right? The mind can't do it right or wrong because it's not up to the mind. It's the mind is just going to do its thing. Whatever comes up in the mind is going to come up. So, and if the mind tries to control or tries to do something, that's not a problem either. Then, then we just report that to our partner. What's coming up in the mind, what's coming up in the body. So it's really actually incredibly simple because there's nothing to actually do. We don't need to manufacture an answer. We don't need to search for an answer. We're literally just reporting what's coming up in the mind and body as we do this inquiry. So you can just relax, just be here now, and just reporting what's happening. Yeah, so there's nothing that's supposed to happen. There's nothing that has to be a particular way. It's not that we're trying to achieve some state. We're not trying to achieve some feeling. All of that, all the phenomena will be constantly changing, and that's what we're reporting to our partner. But we're not looking for anything in particular. When we intend to directly experience who we are, one of those times when we intend to directly experience, we may find out directly who we are. There may be an awakening to our true nature, but the conditioned mind doesn't know what that looks like. It can't know. So whatever the mind might be looking for is not it. So we can just let that mind be a don't know mind. And I would say that's the most important thing in this process is just just allowing the mind to be kind of open. Just be open to something completely unknown, to something new. So yeah, I think yeah, unless there's any other questions or anything coming up, I think I'll leave it there, and maybe take a little break, and then we'll jump back into dyads and yeah, for the rest of the evening. So yeah, thanks everyone.